They weren't just buildings, they were legends, stamped into the memory of ancient travelers. The original must-see destinations, the ultimate bucket list of the ancient world. 7 monuments that defied belief. 7 titans that once ruled the imagination of mankind. Today, only one remains. The others lie shattered, claimed by fire, flood, and time itself. Their ruins whisper across the ages, daring us to uncover their secrets. Imagine a world where human ambition seemed limitless. An age when rulers commanded armies, not just to conquer lands, but to conquer eternity itself. They summoned architects, artisans, and dreamers to shape stone, bronze, and marble into visions so vast, so breathtaking, they seemed to defy the gods themselves. But unlike today's monuments, these were more than symbols of power. They were mysteries in themselves. Gardens that defied gravity, statues that shimmered with ivory and gold, temples that rivaled the heavens, towers of fire that guided ships across the endless sea. And yet, time is the great conqueror. Of the 7 titans, only one still endures. The other 6 have crumbled to dust in the relentless march of centuries. Their ruins whisper from beneath desert sands and ocean waves, their secrets buried in silence. What drove humanity to create them? What secrets did they once hold? And why did these wonders, born to last forever, fall into ruin? The answers, or at least the fragments of them, come to us from ancient voices. For centuries, poets, historians, and travelers spoke of the greatest human achievements they had ever seen. But who first decided what counted as a wonder? And why 7? The answer lies in the shadow of Alexander the Great. When his conquests opened the known world to Greek eyes, from Egypt to Babylon, from the Aegean to the Indus, travelers, poets, and historians began to record the marvels they had seen. They were no longer confined to the familiar temples of Athens or the sanctuaries of Delphi. Suddenly, the vast monuments of Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Asia Minor entered the Greek imagination. It was in this Hellenistic age that the first lists began to appear. One of the earliest was written by Philo of Byzantium, around the 3rd century BC. His treatise on the 7 wonders described them not as mere curiosities, but as the greatest achievements of mankind. A century later, the poet Antipater of Sidon gave us the list that became canon. In his verses, he praises 7 marvels, from the shining pyramid of Giza to the towering statue of Zeus. 7, a number sacred to the Greeks, a symbol of completeness. Yet these lists were not fixed in stone. Other writers swapped names, sometimes including the Great Walls of Babylon or the Ishtar Gate. But over time, Antipater's 7 prevailed. They became the official wonders, repeated in manuscript after manuscript, passed from the Greek world into the Roman imagination and beyond. Centuries later, in Renaissance Europe, the list was reborn. Artists like Martin van Heemskerk in the 16th century revived the ancient wonders in vivid engravings. But Heemskerk added an 8th, the Colosseum of Rome. His series, Octo Mundi Miracula, the 8 wonders of the world, reflected how later generations reimagined the canon, blending classical marvels with the grandeur of their own age. The result is a legend that has evolved for over 2,000 years, reshaped, retold, and re-envisioned. A list that began in the wake of Alexander's conquest became the template for every wonders of the world list that followed. But what were these marvels that so captured the imagination of travelers and poets? Let us journey now, wonder by wonder, to uncover their mysteries. We begin in the sands of Egypt, with the only wonder still standing, the Great Pyramid of Giza, built around 2580 BC for Pharaoh Khufu. This colossal tomb has loomed over the desert for more than 4,500 years. For nearly 3,800 of those years, it held the title of tallest man-made structure on Earth, reaching 146 meters before erosion and the loss of its shining outer casing lowered it. Imagine its original state, clad in brilliant white limestone, polished so finely it reflected the desert sun, glowing like a beacon for miles. Constructed from around 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing several tons. Its alignment with the cardinal points is astonishingly precise. How did ancient builders move such weight with no modern machinery? Ramps, sledges, ingenious planning. Theories abound, but the truth remains shrouded in mystery. Unlike the other wonders, the pyramid wasn't destroyed in catastrophe. Time stripped it, yes, but its core remains, an eternal reminder of human ambition written in stone. Next, we travel into shadow and uncertainty. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon, perhaps the greatest mystery of them all. Ancient writers describe terrace gardens that seem to defy gravity, trees and flowers cascading from tier upon tier, sustained by a complex irrigation system said to lift water from the Euphrates River. Some claimed King Nebuchadnezzar, too, built them for his wife, homesick for the green hills of her homeland. But here's the mystery. No archaeological evidence has ever been found in Babylon. Some scholars believe the gardens may never have existed. Others, like historian Stephanie Dalley, argue the gardens were real, but misattributed. Perhaps they stood not in Babylon, but in Nineveh, capital of the Assyrian Empire, built by King Sennacherib with an advanced aqueduct system. Did the Hanging Gardens truly exist, or were they simply the stuff of poetic imagination? Until evidence emerges, they remain a tantalizing dream, a wonder lost in both time and legend. Our journey brings us to Greece, to the sanctuary of Olympia. Here, inside the Temple of Zeus, once stood a statue so magnificent it became a symbol of divine power, the statue of Zeus. Crafted around 435 BC by the sculptor Phidias, it rose over 40 feet high. Imagine Zeus seated on a grand throne, his body of ivory plates, his robes and ornaments shimmering with gold. For pilgrims of the ancient world, gazing upon it was said to be a life-altering, spiritual experience. But its fate is uncertain. When Christianity rose under Emperor Theodosius, pagan worship was banned. Some say the statue was moved to Constantinople, where it later perished in a great fire. Others believe it remained in Olympia until an earthquake destroyed it. Whichever is true, the statue vanished, leaving behind only breathless descriptions of its overwhelming presence, a reminder that sometimes even gods can be forgotten. On the western coast of Anatolia, in modern-day Turkey, once stood a temple so vast, so ornate, it dwarfed even the Parthenon. The Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, dedicated to the goddess of the hunt, Artemis. It boasted 127 towering marble columns and was hailed as the most beautiful temple ever built. But its history was as dramatic as its design. Destroyed by flood, rebuilt, then burned to the ground in 356 BC. Not by accident, but by arson. The culprit, Herostratus, set the temple ablaze in a desperate bid for fame. Ironically, he succeeded. Though the Ephesians tried to erase his name, history remembers it. According to legend, the temple burned the very night Alexander the Great was born. The Ephesians rebuilt it grander still, only for it to later fall to Gothic raiders and finally, to a Christian mob in 401 AD. A solitary column today marks the spot where one of the most magnificent temples of the ancient world once stood. Our journey now carries us to the shores of the Aegean, to the city of Halicarnassus, in modern-day Bodrum, also in Turkey. Here once rose a tomb so magnificent, it gave its name to all such monuments that followed. The mausoleum. Picture it towering above the harbor, gleaming white against the blue sea. Built in the mid-4th century BC for Mausolus, the satrap of Caria, and commissioned by his queen Artemisia, who was also his sister. It was both a tomb and a love letter carved in stone. For centuries, it endured, until earthquakes shook Halicarnassus, toppling its mighty columns and breaking its pyramid roof. By the Middle Ages, the once proud mausoleum was a ruin, its stones scavenged by the Knights of St. John to fortify their castle at Bodrum. Yet fragments of its sculptures survive, lions, warriors, and friezes, whispering of its lost splendor. And so the name of Mausolus achieved the immortality he sought. Forever since, the word mausoleum has meant not just a tomb, but a wonder, a house for the dead built to defy time itself. Our next wonder was both a triumph of engineering and a victim of hubris, the Colossus of Rhodes. Built around 280 BC to celebrate victory over invaders, this bronze statue of the sun god Helios towered more than 30 meters high, taller than the Statue of Liberty's pedestal. Its bronze skin was hammered onto an iron frame, so massive that ancient travelers claimed they could not wrap their arms around its thumb. But just 54 years later, a violent earthquake sent the giant crashing down. For centuries, the ruins remained where they fell, so awe-inspiring that visitors still came just to marvel at the fragments. Later stories claim that Arab raiders who captured Rhodes in 653 melted down the statue and sold the bronze. Yet modern research suggests this tale may have been more legend than fact, a story born from scraps of bronze carried away from the island, woven into rumor. And here's a final correction to the myth. The Colossus likely never straddled the harbor with legs apart like a gate. That image was the invention of medieval imagination. In truth, it probably stood beside the harbor, a shining sentinel gazing toward the sea. Our final wonder stood at the edge of the known world, the Lighthouse of Alexandria. Constructed between 280 and 247 BC under Ptolemy II, it was both beautiful and practical, guiding sailors safely into Egypt's busiest port. Rising between 100 and 130 meters, it was the second tallest man-made structure of its age, rivaled only by the Great Pyramid. At night, its fire burned bright. By day, polished bronze mirrors reflected sunlight, visible for miles across the Mediterranean. Some accounts say sailors could see it up to 35 miles out to sea, an ancient beacon of safety. But earthquakes in the 10th, 11th, and 14th centuries steadily weakened it, until it finally collapsed. Yet its legacy lived on. Medieval Islamic scholars still described it in detail, and divers today continue to uncover its massive blocks beneath the waters of Alexandria's harbor. The 7 wonders of the ancient world are gone, except one. Yet they endure in story. They remind us that the ancients, without modern machines, achieved feats that still humble us today. They are not just tales of stone and marble, but of human ambition, of the desire to leave a mark that outlives us all. And while the ancients had their 7, we too create new wonders, skyscrapers that scrape the heavens, bridges that span seas, technology that stretches into space. The question is, which of our creations will survive the test of time, and which will crumble into legend? If you could step back in time to witness just one of these wonders, which would it be? The Shining Pyramid, the Towering Colossus, or the mysterious Hanging Gardens? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more journeys into the mysteries of the past, and hit the notification bell, because our adventure through history is only just beginning. Thanks for watching and motivating us here at Hub Corona. See you at our next video.